Having more than 2,500 games across my accounts with above 60% win rate and being a top 10 TA player on Open Dota in the past, I decided to finally reveal the secrets. TA is a ranged agility hero that excels at doing physical damage. If you look at her kit, she's a high physical burst damage hero. Not only is Tia one of the fastest farmers in the game, her kit also allows her to pretty much do all of the things required to win Dota. She is a great tower pusher, she is great at taking Roshan, she can burst down heroes, and she can win games alone. She is by far one of the best heroes to get out of the trenches, especially in the lower brackets. I mainly spam this hero from 3.7k up till 8k MMR. While this hero is atrociously greedy to play as a mid laner, if done correctly, it can work. I did it, and so can you. Similar to her unique strengths, she also has weaknesses. Tia has a mediocre attack range early on without her skills and items. She struggles a lot with positioning and being kited because of her short attack range. Other than that, she doesn't have any way to catch heroes directly with a stun and is a single target hero. However, these issues can be resolved with the correct itemization and some understanding of the hero. Tia has 4 base spells and an additional ability with her Aghanim Scepter. Her first spell is called Refraction. Refraction is both her offensive and defensive spell. The basic concept of the ability is that it is a shield that blocks damage. It provides Tia with instances of damage block and bonus damage. It has a cooldown and duration of 17 seconds. Refraction is her main source of damage that allows her to flash farm, kill heroes, and take buildings, etc. Refraction instances can block any amount of damage, it does not matter. However, the only thing that goes through Refraction is HP removal. Stuff like TB Sunder goes through it without taking any instances of the damage block. Another thing to keep in mind is that only instances of more than 5 damage will trigger Refraction. This basically means there are some spells in the game, such as Pudge's Wrath and Ember's level 1 Flame Guard. Even though both these spells are DPS, they still don't break Refraction because they don't deal more than 5 damage to count as an instance of damage. This can come in handy as it allows you to man up to and surprise both these heroes. Some spells take off 2 instances of Refraction rather than 1. Some examples are Clinx's Spear, Odie's Arcane Orb, and Storm's Overload. Since Refraction is the same duration and cooldown, the shield can be on at all times unless something takes it off manually. This can come in handy in a lot of lane matchups. A good example is the good old SF versus Tia matchup. SF likes to spam his raises so he can burst Tia down, but her shield is very annoying. What SF does is that every time Tia comes close to him, he hits her a couple of times to remove Refraction, then bombard her with his raises. A way around it for Tia is that she can use a Refraction, and then as soon as the cooldown of the Refraction is around 5 to 6 seconds, she can go in front of the SF and start trading with him. The SF will hit her, and by the time the duration of the Refraction ends, he will think that he took off Refraction and will start raising. This is where the Tia can use a Refraction again and surprise the SF. Refraction also allows you to play aggressively on the map with Blink Dagger. Refraction has damage block instances, which means that when you get damage on you, it doesn't cancel your Blink Dagger. This allows you to position yourself aggressively, and if the enemy tries to go on you, you can just blink out. In order to always be able to execute this, make sure you have your Refraction on whenever you're playing in dangerous spots. Tia's second spell is called Meld. This spell allows Tia to become invisible, deal bonus damage, and reduce armor of the target she hits with the Meld Strike. Meld effect can be stacked, meaning that you can reduce the target's armor by -16. This mechanic is mainly useful for taking down Roche. And if you're good at reading the enemy movements, you can position yourself at a point where you can sit with your meld, and when the target comes near you, you can double meld them. There is no duration for the invisibility. As long as your hero doesn't move, you will stay invisible. Even if you get stunned or silenced, you won't lose the meld effect. Meld also allows you to dodge projectiles, stuff like range hero attacks, magic missile, Queen of Pain's Shadow Strike. Basically, the projectile loses the trajectory because the target goes invisible. If the enemy has vision on you, then this won't work. Meld can also be used to dodge targeted spells. For example, Loin's Hex or CM's root. How? Instead of blinking in front of these heroes and melding them and getting stunned or rooted, try to blink opposite to where they are facing and launch an auto attack first. As soon as they turn around to cast their spell on you, press meld and hit them, and then another auto attack should seal the deal. TA's third spell is called Psi-Blades. This ability gives TA extra attack range and allows her attacks to slice through enemies, splitting and damaging enemy units directly behind it. Psi-Blades is TA's way of flash farming and sort of a wave clear ability, as it doesn't spill in an area but in a line. This ability is TA's way of harassing opponents in the laning phase, and if you get amazingly good with Psi-Blades, you can even make big plays in team fights. Psi-Blades are considered as pure damage, meaning that when the target gets hit by the Psi-Blades, they will take pure damage. For example, there's a hero with 50 armor, but that hero gets hit by Psi-Blades through a unit that has 0 armor. The Psi-Blades will completely ignore the 50 armor on said hero and deal damage equivalent of that your first hit dealt on the unit. Since Psi-Blades are pure damage, they also go through ethereal form. Pro tip, if you're playing against Venno, try to Psi-Blade from his Plague Wards. And also, Psi-Blades spill from cogs. If you see a hero stuck inside them, you know what to do. Unlike similar abilities like Shackle Shot, Psi-Blades can be controlled. Psi-Blades projectiles depends upon where you are standing at the time of impact rather than when the projectile leaves the hands of the hero. You can use this technique to counter the movements of the enemy laner that is trying to move around in hopes of dodging the Psi-Blades. In this example, I will show you what I mean. So I will try to hit this guy from here, but then I will blink here. As you can see, the Psi-Blade still worked. But if I just go back here and I don't blink, the Psi-Blade won't work. So it depends upon where your location is at the time of the impact, rather than where you are from where you initiated the attack. There is no direct practice to get better at Psi-Blades except for playing a lot. Keeping the things we've discussed before in mind, it should be relatively faster to learn how to Psi-Blade. TA's ultimate is called Psionic Trap. This ability allows TA to put traps on the ground that slow and deal damage depending upon how much charged they are. It takes 3.5 seconds for a trap to get fully charged. Trap damage is only dealt if the trap is fully charged. As you can see here, this trap is fully charged and now the clockwork will take damage. The trap visually changes in color once fully charged. Its outer ring starts black and turns white once fully charged. Ideal way to use traps is to place them around where you're going to be farming. For example, if you're farming the triangle, you can place a trap here, one here, and like one here. So like if they're for you from here or here, you can just like see where they're coming from. And if you're playing like mid TA, one trap on their ramp is pretty good. One on both runes is really good. And one trap in the middle here is really good. So why on the middle is really good is because in most of the cases, your opponents are going to buy sentries against you. So let's say there's like a melee hero against you in the mid lane. In order for him to hit this trap, for him to like delete this trap, he has to move towards it. And when he goes to do that, you can pop this trap, chase him a bit. Then when he runs back to this ramp, you can pop that one, and then boom, he just dies. Traps can be used to stack Ancient, which is recommended unless someone in your team is already stacking for you. To stack Ancients, pop the trap at 51 seconds of every minute and be in 1200 range for them to aggro on you. As you can see, this camp is stacked. Traps are helpful in taking control of areas aggressively. You can place traps around places where you think the enemy team can walk high ground or low ground. Ideally, I place traps on every ramp where I think the enemy can come from and then play around those traps and kill them. So there are two ways to pop a trap. One is the ability that you have on your hero, which for me is the T hotkey. So if I press that hotkey, it's going to explode the nearest trap that is from my hero. And the other way is to just box select a trap and then press the hotkey inside it. So I would recommend using the box select, as it doesn't allow you to fuck up, because in most cases, you might fuck up if you press the hotkey that is on your hero. TS Shard adds silence to the traps and increases the count of the traps and increases the vision on the traps. Lastly, TA's Aghanim Scepter is called Psionic Projection. It basically allows you to teleport to traps, as you can see here. And a good thing about this is that, for example, if you're like Invis and you just press this, it won't remove your invis. Moving on to her talent tree, this is what it looks like. So for the level 10 talent, the plus 25 refraction damage talent enables TA to farm faster, burst down foes faster, and is also enhanced with the plus 7 refraction instances at level 25. The psionic trap damage talent can also be used to farm, but ideally as a TA main, I always go for the refraction damage talent. Level 15 talent. The plus 120 Psi-Blades attack and spell range talent is mainly for the attack range. TA inherently has a really bad attack range, and for a hero like her with positioning and kiting issues, this talent helps her a lot. The other talent basically allows you to use Refraction if you get disabled. Refraction has no downtime if you think about it. 17 seconds duration and 17 seconds cooldown, you can basically have it on all the time. Good TA players never go for the right talent as it doesn't serve a purpose. If you get caught, the shield won't save you in most cases. The left talent, however, helps you with positioning and being less kited. Level 20 talent. The talents are self-explanatory. The minus 3 meld armor reduces 3 more armor from the target that is hit by your meld. It is generally good when you're lacking damage. The meld dispel gives you a basic dispel on your meld. In a game of Dota, dispels are always good, especially when you have a very low cooldown on them. Meld dispel is almost always the choice to go with, as spells like roots and dots are annoying for TA and can mostly be removed with the basic dispel. The level 25 talent, plus 7 refraction instances basically gives you 7 more instances of damage block and 85 additional damage, 110 with the talent. The other talent bashes the target that is hit by Meld for 1 second. You can never go wrong with the plus 7 refraction instances. It's a no-brainer as it helps TA scale towards the late game, which was previously her biggest weakness. TA can be played as a mid and as a carry. In the past, she was mainly a mid laner because she couldn't scale to the late game as well as other carries could. And nowadays, she's mainly played as a carry. As a mid, she can be versatile or greedy depending upon the game. If she has to play the role of a fighter rather than a farmer, she usually itemizes by buying Dragonlance into Blink Dagger instead of the Desolator. Blink Dagger allows her to roam around the map and be a menace. In a lot of cases, she buys Shard after the Blink Dagger to catch mobile heroes. If the purpose of the hero in the game is to play greedy, then she essentially is a carry from the mid lane. As a carry, she has to play greedy like every other carry. There is no variance, she plays for her own farm and doesn't have to worry about creating space for her team. What is TA good against and what is TA bad against? TA is bad against heroes with high armor. Good examples are Terrorblade and Morphlink. She is also bad against heroes that can take her refraction off easily. For example, heroes with DPS like Husker, Batrider, Venomancer, Viper, illusion heroes like Phantom Lancer, etc. Things that are annoying for TA are roots, instant stuns that she can't react to with a refraction plus Blink combo. Good examples are Treant's root and Nyx's ult plus stun combo. TA is good against heroes that can't take her refraction off easily. Some examples are Zeus, Puck, Invoker, Phantom Assassin, Lifestealer. She is also good against heroes that have low armor and are very squishy, like Witch Doctor, Keeper of the Light, and White Spirit, for example. She pairs well with heroes that amplify her damage. This includes armor reducers like Slardar, Shadow Fiend, and Vengeful Spirit. There are a lot of ways to amplify physical damage. Heroes that amplify her attack speed like Drow Ranger, Beastmaster, Invoker's Alacrity, for example, are also included in this. The ideal game plan for TA is to hit her item timings, take her Roshan, and end the game around the 25 to 30 minute mark. In order for her to achieve this, she farms in the early game, gets her Desolator, and then takes Roshan, and after that takes every enemy objective, and then looks to close out the game. Discipline and hero mastery is necessary to achieve the ideal game result. Moving on to TA's skill build. TA's skill build doesn't vary that much. The only difference is choosing her first spell, which depends upon what kind of matchup and lane you're going to be in. Usually, on the mid lane, people go for Psi-Blades level 1 as it allows you to push the wave and double wave the enemy mid laner while also allowing her not to get double waved. Occasionally, as a mid TA, you can also go for Refraction level 1 against Shadow Fiend because he likes to harass you with raises. Level 1 Refraction can negate some of that damage. In some matchups, Meld level 1 is really good, mostly against melee heroes with low armor like Pangolier and Ember Spinet, as it allows you to bully them out of the lane. I would not recommend Meld level 1 on the mid lane for beginners, as landing Meld requires you to have a decent understanding of the matchup you're going to be in, and also requires you to know the attack range limitations of your hero. On the safe lane, you almost always go Meld level 1. It can be used for multiple things, from harassing the enemy to securing the range creep. Another reason is that on the safe lane, you don't want to push the lane into the enemy, so getting Psi-Blades doesn't really help, and Refraction gets taken off by 2 heroes really quickly at level 1 because of only 3 instances. In some cases, you can go with Psi-Blades, such as when you're against double range heroes that you can't reach to use Meld, or against heroes with summons that you need wave clear for. Other than that, always max your Refraction first, follow it by maxing Meld after you have at least 2 points in your Psi-Blades and 1 point in traps, and after that, you max your Psi-Blades. At level 7, your build should look something like this: 4-1-1-1 or 4-0-2-1. At level 12, your build should look something like this: 4-4-3-1 and 1 point in talent. TA's item build does not vary that much and is pretty much the same in every game. Your build should almost always follow this pattern: Bottle, Treads, Dragonlance, Desolator, Blink, BKB, Daedalus / Nullifier / MKB / Hex into Hurricane Pike / Swift Blink. When it comes to variation, on mid TA, there will always be some games where you will need to buy a Blink Dagger paired with a shard before the Desolator. For example, if you're playing against some spirit hero who you need to silence, or you're playing against backline heroes that you need to get rid of, like Winter Wyvern for example, or if you're playing into initiation that can be very easily dodged with Blink Dagger reaction, like Mars Arena for example. The build is Bottle, Treads, Dragonlance, Blink Dagger, Shard, Desolator, BKB, Daedalus / MKB / Hex / Nullifier into Hurricane Pike / Swift Blink. You go for MKB as your luxury item if you are against evasion or extremely high armor heroes like TB for example. You go for Hex as your luxury item if you need catch and do not lack damage. You go for Daedalus if the enemy doesn't have any evasion and you need raw damage. You go for Nullifier if the enemy has Ghost Scepters that you need to get rid of. And you don't buy Bottle if you're playing safely in TA. And when to buy Axe? Axe is almost never bought unless you get it for free from Roshan or super late and you are already 6 slotted. The item used to be broken when you could use it through roots, but that's not the case anymore. When it comes to neutral items, the best tier 1 neutral item on mid TA is the Tumbler's Toy. It acts as a Blink Dagger but like a very short range. The thing is that it doesn't get cancelled because of your Refraction, so it's really good. The Grove Bow is the best one out there as it gives you attack range and attack speed, followed by the Brigand's Blade and the Vambrace. For the tier 3, the best item that you can get is either the Mindbreaker or the Enchanted Quiver, depending upon what kind of game you are in. In some cases, you would prefer Grove Bow over the Mindbreaker, but not the Enchanted Quiver. Tier 4 items usually don't benefit TA that much. If you get a Grove Bow, then you just like stick with it throughout the whole game. And for the tier 5 items, Deso 2 is really good. Mirror Shield is like really good. It depends upon what kind of situation you're in. In some cases, you would need double BKB, so Ex Machina would be really good as well. In some cases, you would need attack speed, then the Apex would be good as well. So it depends upon what kind of situation you're in for the tier 5 items. So we've went over almost everything, including the starting skill build, but what we've not gone over is the starting item build. So basically, when you're playing mid TA, there's like several item builds that you can go on. Particularly, what you want to go with is something like a Slipper, Triple Branch, Tangos, and Fey Fire. This allows you to get your bottle really quick. And there's like different variances of the build, so you must be wondering why I went for Wraith Band components and not the build that I just told you. So in this particular matchup, I'm going to be against a Zeus. So Zeus is like free stick charges basically. So when Zeus is going to give me free stick charges, I don't necessarily need a bottle. What I do need is like I'm just gonna rush the Wraith Band and then I'm going to buy a wand after that. This is why in this particular matchup I don't go that build, but you can still go the same build that gets you the bottle really early. So where do the variances happen? So there's like 3 types of builds that you can do as a TA. One, the build that you see on my inventory, which is the Circular, the Slipper, the branch, the fairy fire, tangos, etc. And the other build is that you go for a slipper, triple branch, tango, and fairy fire. And the third build is when you're against heroes like Bat Rider. For example, let's say you're in a game against Bat Rider. In those matchups, you straight up need a wand from base, a branch, and a fairy fire, and then you get tangos from the bounty. So these are like the three builds when it comes to mid lane. When it comes to safe lane, you have multiple builds as well, except that in safe lane, it's like you buy a Quelling Blade, you buy a Wraithband Components, Double Branch, and Tango. But it depends, right? Like if the lane doesn't have any sort of ability usage where you won't get stick charges, then yeah, this build can work. And you're against like physical damage heroes like NP, for example, Mirana NP, for example. But let's say you're in a lane where you will get stick charges. Let's say you're in a lane like, for example, you're in a lane against a Rubik, right? So in those matchups, you can go for Quelling Blade, Circlet, one Tango, one Branch, and a Stick. These are usually the builds that you can go for early on as a safe lane tier. Like you cannot go wrong with either of these builds. Moving over, what I'm going to show here is basically the macro gameplay of the hero, like what she likes to do early game, what she likes to do mid game, and what she likes to do late game. So in this particular example, we're going to be taking a look at the mid lane tier. So in this matchup, I'm against Zeus. This is why I go for the Psi-Blades level 1, as I can't really reach this hero and use Meld on him, and Refraction is kind of useless. So in this particular lane, I won't be taking Meld at all because Zeus likes to play from far behind, and I won't be able to meld him ever, so I just like go for this build. You can probably see here that I can't reach this hero, so what I'm trying to do here is that I'm just trying to Psi-Blade him as much as I can without like hitting him, because as a TA, if you hit your opponent, you're going to draw aggro, which means that the enemy creeps are going to attack you, which means that you're going to get lose your fraction charges very easily. So try to avoid that and try to like only hit them when you feel like the creeps won't attack you. So as you can see here, I'm just like not even aggroing on this hero. I'm just like trying to Psi-Blades as much as I can. Another thing I want to point out is that Tia can always get away with like less regen. This is because of her shield and the ability to Psi-Blades. Like if you're really good at Psi-Blades, then in most cases you will like out regen the other guy. And now you will see that I almost have like level 6, but I'm not going inside the Zeus's tower because I know that I can't catch this guy. He has a way to run away. So instead of like staying his tower, like I'm just going to go and farm the side camp as often as I can. Now I put traps, and now it's like up to the Zeus whether he's going to make a mistake or not. If he like goes on my traps, then I will kill him, and if he doesn't, then it's like whatever, right? Like so if I use one trap, it's not enough, so he's just gonna run away. So I'm just like pressuring him right now. You see that my Snapfire is on the top lane waiting for the rune, and I'm like bottom. So this way we just secure the rune, we use this against anything, and overall there's like a big difference between the CS of me and Zeus, right? And he goes here and I check his mana. Like you can see right now he doesn't have any mana, so I just like jump him. If he had mana, I wouldn't go on him like this because he would just like jump away like the Mario bounce basically. So another thing to do is like now I'm gonna like pressure the tower because Zeus is dead, and usually like this timer, like this area where it's like 6:30, like the 30 seconds area, the 30 to 40 seconds period, I usually don't pressure the tower if I feel like I can't do it. Like if I don't see the Zeus is like rotating, or like if the Zeus isn't dead, then I would probably be somewhere here and I would be stacking these camps with the trap and like farming this big camp at all times. But the thing is that in this, Beastmaster is just like stacking for me, so I don't have to do it. But I'm just saying that in most cases, what you want to do, like unless you're like a super boss level TA player, I would advise you to like as soon as you get to your level 6, try to push in waves, and then at the 30 seconds mark, like 40 seconds mark, just go back here, put a trap here, farm this, and then pop it at 51, and just like keep doing that until you're like level 9, preferably level 10, and then just like take the stack. So right now I'm going here, like I pushed in the wave, you can see that, and now Beast is like, yeah, I'm not getting anything at top. Like you can see that he's struggling a bit against the Morphling, so he says that we should take the stack, and now I'm taking stack. So I want you to notice one thing here when it comes to like taking stacks and like farming in general with the TA, is that you see the way I'm like moving, like one hit move, because the creeps are going to follow you, and if you stay at the same spot, they're gonna like jumble up on you instead of like being in a line. So when you're playing TA, try to align the creeps as much as you can to make the most out of their side, because this is like the fastest way to farm. Like you're gonna see in this example where I hit this, I run back, hit this, run back, or you see like, and I'm also using traps to make them slow and like also do damage. So this is like a plus in that sense. So now you see like my net worth, I'm like fucking zooming, I'm 4.6k in 8 minutes. This is like the perfect TA game, you could say. And now I see that the Zeus isn't anywhere in the lane and the tower is like really low. So I'm gonna try to pressure it because I don't see Zeus at all. So I'm like, okay, fuck it, I'm just gonna take this tower. So I get this tower for free, then I'm gonna farm the next flame as well because I'm just like too strong right now. So I have my Dragonlance in 9 minutes, which is insane. So this particular game, as I discussed before, where I'm like playing against backline heroes, so Zeus is a good example. I'm playing against NP, like Morph and stuff. The heroes basically I can't chase, right? I'm gonna get kited against these heroes. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to be going for the Blink Dagger build because since I'm ahead, I'll just like to make most out of it, right? And now here I pop the first trap. I have like 3 traps here, so if he like bunny hops, and then I can just like use the other one, and we're just constantly pressuring the Zeus as much as we can, and then get another free kill. So at this point, like the game is just like I'm just like snowballing really hard. Having 6k net worth in like 9.5 minutes is like insane. So this means that if I keep this up, I'll probably have my Blink, Dragonlance, and Deso by 14 or 15 minutes, which is really strong, which is like the ideal timing for TA. And if you can get that, you'll win most of your games. You see, like I'm playing aggressively. So you see how I'm like playing in triangle. I place a trap here because I feel like they can come from here. And I'm gonna place maybe one more trap somewhere close by where I think they can come from, but I don't see that. So I see Zeus here. I put a trap behind, but he has an idea of it, so I don't like push it. So I'm just playing super safe as much as I can and taking all the farm that I can from the enemy team. So now I go back here. I don't see any stacks. I just like keep farming because I don't have the mid tower right now to pressure, so I don't care. So I see there's a fight going on here, but I'm like, yeah, it doesn't matter really. So early game is all about like farming pretty much. Like if you can get a kill or two, it's like good. If you get a chance to take the enemy tower, that's really good. So in order to know how you can take the enemy tower, is just you have to realize that if the enemy is dead or like rotating somewhere, only then you should pressure their tower. If not, then you should just like stick to like just like farming the triangle and stacking ancients, because your timings matter a lot on TA. Like if you have a good timing, then you see like if I don't have blink here, this guy doesn't die. So I like Psi-Blade him because right clicking the NP directly doesn't do that much damage as compared to if I like Psi-Blade, because this guy here is like 14 armor, but this creep has only 2 armor. So I Psi-Blade him 2 times, and then as soon as he uses his sprout, I blink on him and then I just kill him. And similar to that, now I'm on top because since I have Lance plus Dragonlance, I'm allowed to do this. Like I can move around, kill people as much as I want, and then I go pressure top. So overall, this game is going really good. This is what you could say is the mid game. Not particularly mid game is like 15 minutes for TA, but since my timings are like really insane, so you can consider this as mid game. So now the trap at mid, and then I wait for him to use his bunny hop, and then I just like blink on him. So this is why blink build is really good in some games, where the enemy doesn't have any way of piercing your refraction, and you basically can just do whatever the fuck you want. Now you can see that I almost have my Deso, only like 700 gold away from it. And once I have my Deso, I'll be looking to go Roche and then close out the game. That's like the mid-game category for TA. And after Roche, it's like, we'll see what it's like. So I'm just like standing, not committing as much because I need my Desolator. They get a kill on NP at top, and I have my Desolator. So as soon as I get my Desolator, I ask my Beastmaster to come Roche. So why do I ask my Beastmaster to come Roche? Is because if you see that he has like Aura, which gives me bonus attacks, even though it's like level 1, it's like whatever, it still benefits me. So I go here, I'm gonna double Meld Roche, and we're gonna take Roche. Now I have Roche, then I'm gonna look to like take out all the outer towers, unless the enemy just gives up. In these particular games, like enemy does give up. Like as you can see, the NP just like bought back, so it's like the game's kind of over, but I'll still give you a view of what this. So now I have like Aegis, so I'm taking the top tier one. This is like the easiest tower to take because mid is like they can go on you from here, from here, from here. There's like a lot of spots, but here it's like you usually will have control of this area with traps, and you can have one trap here. It's like there's a lot of ways to do things. So I'm just like standing here. Zeus is inside. I'm not gonna dive him because it's like I could throw. So now I'm just like moving towards mid. I see NP here. I trap him. Then I burst him down. And now we're just like taking over the game, basically. Even though it's like 6k lead, it feels like a lot because I have 12k net worth at 16 minutes, which is way too much to handle. This is like a completely... You could say this is like the perfect TA game in terms of the gameplay and in terms of the draft that the enemy has. Now we're looking to pressure the mid tier too. So I'm playing like really aggressive because I have Aegis. As you can see here, trying to Psi-Blade with whatever the creeps are on my face, and Psi-Blading from the creep, And then I live here as well because of the region from the lads. And now I'm gonna try to take mid tower. So I took mid tower. We kill this guy. So as you can see, I also bought shard. And the reason why I bought shard is that these heroes, like, they're pretty weak against shard. Like, as you see, I silenced the Nyx and then I just like killed him. Similar for that. Now, like, I won't play super aggressive. As soon as I have dagger, I'll try to look for a move if I can. So right now we're not going for like the tier 3 because it's like dangerous. So what we're gonna do is like we're just like taking the outer tower. So this is like the mid game gameplay for TA. Get Roche, like get your timings, get Roche, get outer towers, and then look to end the game. See like cheeky Psi-Blade and like kill him as well. So yeah, now it's like we have an opening and we can go high ground there, and we kill this guy as well. So yeah, pretty much now it's like probably the end game as they've given up. But yeah, in endgame, it's like endgame usually arrives on TA if you fuck up your mid game, which is like you get ages and you waste it. Like you don't have enough discipline and you just have wasted. Usually, ideal TA game is like you end the game by 25 to 30 minutes. Otherwise, like most carries out carry this hero in the late game, regardless of what kind of build you go for, regardless for the talents. So yeah, as a mid laner, this is your basic gameplay. Like if you want to win with TA as a mid, you have to absolutely be very good with your timings. If your timings are good, usually your timings as TA, if you're going for the Dragonlance Deso build, it should be something like you should have Dragonlance Deso by 15 minutes and then Dagger by 17 minutes. If you can hit these timings, you'll win most of your games. And in order to hit your timings, you need to make sure that you're not dying too much. You're not like, you're disciplined, you're hitting neutral creeps. Basically, you should have at least 10 CS per minute as TA, regardless of how you're playing. Like if you see right now, I've been fighting for the last, I don't know how many minutes I've just been fighting. And even though I've been fighting, I still have more than 10 CS per minute right now. Even though that's probably because of the stacks I took and the constant farming I've been doing. And you see like how broken the sword is. Like it just like doesn't let them play unless they have things to do. So yeah, I guess for the mid TA, this is like the macro gameplay from early to mid to late game. It's just like this. When it comes to the macro gameplay of the safe lane TA, there's not that big of a difference. The only difference between mid and safe lane TA is probably the early game. Other than that, it's the mid game and the late game is essentially the same. So the difference between the carry and mid TA in the early game is that the carry TA isn't obliged to create space or make moves. She can just AFK farm while her mid laner does all the dirty work. Like if you can see here, it's like this TA is just basically chilling. It's like Yatoro, he's just like farming, and eventually he's gonna hit his timing, take Roche, and just like close out the game. It's pretty much the same thing, except that on the mid TA you have variations. You can go for the Dragonlance build or with the dagger build and shard build and like, you know, make moves, create space. But on the safe lane TA, it's like much easier, I would say, as compared to mid TA. Unless you're like a super good mid TA player, then it's like different. Then you can just like own the game by yourself. Like you can become a snowbally mid laner. But if it's like, if you're starting out, the best time to play TA right is like to play in the safe lane TA right now, because she's like better of a safe lane hero than she is like a mid hero right now. So Arturo got his Dragonlance plus Deso combo at 15 minutes. So he's going to fight, which is the mistake that he's making right now. I mean, he might survive, but it's like, if you're playing TA and you're fighting into Husker and Viper, it's like very hard to do unless you have like Blink or something like that. But since he gets healed, it works out and he like barely lives. So now he's just probably going to be looking to go Roche as much as this is like the mid game area of the TA which has started. So he's playing very aggressively, trying to farm his Blink, right? The standard build that we've talked about before, nothing new going on here. It's like the same thing pretty much. And now he's gonna get his Blink. Once he gets his Blink, I don't know when he's gonna hit Roche, but with the way the game's going, he should be doing it pretty soon. So they're going for Roche now. He gets his Roche. He's gonna triple meld pretty much. I think it's possible to do triple meld. Yeah, it is possible to do triple meld. So you see that meld has Roche has minus 23 armor. This is only possible because two times the TA can probably meld the Roche, but the third time the Coddle gives her the chakra magic, and now she can meld for the third time because the meld doesn't have a cooldown. So now this Roche is going to die fucking easily. Like she can probably solo it as well with the triple meld. And now same thing as this previous game, they're gonna look out for outer towers and then close out the game. It's like pretty much the same thing. It's just like the only difference between mid and safe lane TA is like the early game. So yeah, other than that, there's like, this is about as much as I can go over in this guide. There's like probably more things that I'm missing out, but it's like I just probably forgot about them or didn't seem that they are that important. So I hope you liked the guide and it was helpful for you. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're interested in TA content or like educational content. I have tons of videos on other roles in general, videos and stuff. And please like the video as it helps the right audience get to watch the video. Thanks for watching and have a nice day.